I'm kind of looking around in the cafe. Can I maybe find some, you know, memories? Like, around here. Oh, wait, found one. Coffee machine. Spirit-resistant quartz crucibles with self-sealing lids. What? Product description. Heat-resistant up to 1,650 degrees Celsius. Self-sealing lids from airtight seals around the crucibles. What am I reading here? Is this some product information? Highly resistant to corruption and spiritual interference. Why does that even exist? Is this a common problem? Having your coffee machines being possessed by evil spirits? That common? There was someone that was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a coffee machine that was highly resistant to it. Like, what? Clear inner and outer covering allow for easy spotting of cracks or imperfections. Quality suitable for mixing potions and filters. Okay, average rating 3 out of 5 stars out of 5. Product reviews 5 out of 5. I love this! The covering, despite being quartz, has a textured appearance that gives a silky smooth feel to it. Most crucibles feel sterile and cold, but this one makes for a perfect beverage container when entertaining guests. 4 out of 5. The previous crucible set I used was inherited from my grandmother, who brought them over from New England. Unfortunately, 2 months at sea were not kind to her spiritware, and her crucibles were filled with tiny cracks and microfractures that allowed unsightly looking soot to build up, leaving them stained with hard grey lines everywhere, looking like they were about to crack apart at any moment. She used them for several decades to come, but every time I worked with her and watched them heat up, I was afraid they were constantly on the verge of shattering. One she used to contain a lost wayward spirit for several days before finding a home for it, and I would get up at night and check the embers in the crucible, and it always unsettled me as seeing how fragile the container was. This is just a rant of someone in the review section. What is this? Several times I found myself tempted to tip the crucible over just to see how easily it would shatter under my soft touch. Needless to say, this new set is much nicer. They are sterile and I can keep several of them in my bedroom without feeling unsettled by their presence. 2 of the crucibles in my set arrived with small chips in them, but I contacted the manufacturer and they replaced them at no charge. The replacements were express shipped and the process was quick and painless, so great customer service, and they offer replacements up to 1 year. For the price, they can be beat. Oh my god, that was a long review. 4 out of 5. Owned mine for 2 weeks and it didn't crack. Decent for the price. 5 out of 5. Received mine in the mail this morning and can't wait to try it out. So glad I finally found someone selling crucibles at a reasonable price. A brand name one costs over $200, which is just outrageous. Ooh, the 1 out of 5. I'm curious about this one. Bought this several weeks ago since it was the cheapest crucible on the site, advertised as spirit resistant. I'm working on a filter for my graduate thesis and purchased 100 of these for lab use. My plan was to monitor 100 different animal spirits over with different types of plant matter and compare how different biomaterials affected their vigor over a 90-day period. What am I reading here? The first day I set the first 5 with samples of mugroot, feverfew, ginger, ginseng, and golden seal. I placed them in the crucible over low heat, 80 degrees Celsius, and left them overnight. And over the next 2 days did the same with all the remaining crucibles, finishing on a Friday and leaving the lab alone for the weekend. When I arrived back on Monday, I knew that something was wrong when I noticed a rain cloud hovering over the door. It's not uncommon for rain clouds to appear at any time of year, at any time of day in our part of the country, but it is quite an honor to find a rain cloud localized entirely within the hallway of your research lab. I braced for the worst, but I guess I should have braced harder. Nothing could have prepared me for the smell when I opened the door. I immediately found my eyes watering and actually found myself choking. It smelled so bad. I slammed the door shut. I went to the basement to grab one of the emergency respirators we keep down there. Unfortunately, the respirator did little to mask the terrible stench inside of the lab. You know, this is sort of starting to sound like it's all on you, mate. I opened the first crucible and saw that it was filled with a tar-like substance, and as I studied its inky black writhing form, I felt the air sucked out of me, almost like it was trying to drag me into the abyss with it. I threw it onto the floor and the container shattered, splattering the floor with a tar-like substance, which began slowly crawling across the room. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed the tar until it was completely covered. I heard what sounded like a sputtering noise followed by a long gasp and a scream that faded into oblivion. Yeah, this really sounds like it's a you problem. After poking at the fire extinguisher spray, whatever was underneath was clearly quenched. I took the remaining crucibles and placed them in the oven and baked them at a temperature of 1600 degrees for several hours as I sat alone in the lab, contemplating the cruelty of existence and wondering what my academic advisor would have to say about my thesis project. After several hours of waiting, I opened the oven and checked the contents of the crucibles, revealing nothing but ash. Whatever it was that had been drawn by the spiritual emissions of my lab work, it was gone from my world, but the memory of that day will haunt me for all the remaining days of my life. Yeah, no, I think that was a you problem, man. You left that unsupervised. 1 out of 5. Another one. Do not buy this crucible for spirit-related applications! My worry is under the product designers who worked on this item. The crucibles in this listing come from a manufacturer called Marsecurity. Wait, no, not Marsecurity. Marsecurity. How do you even read that? LLC dot. Back in 2013, they were some of the best hardware you could get for your money and earned a reputation among hobbyists as great value for anyone working on a budget. In 2016, they did a survey and found that fewer than 50% of buyers were actually using the crucibles for spirit-related applications and decided they could cut costs by removing the spirit-resistant properties. However, they found that products advertised with updated ad copy to reflect this didn't sell as well. So they continued using the old product description, which advertises it as is spirit resistant. Oh, okay, well, maybe the previous one, yeah, no, maybe it was actually a product fault, yeah. With the new product line, which is not spirit resistant. Yeah, that's gotta be capitalism right there for you. I don't know how they're getting away with this. Apparently the definitions of what is actually spirit resistant are legally murky and the number of people affected is small enough that they continue to sell well. Stay far away from this one and warn anyone you know of who might buy an item like this that it does not work as advertised. Another 5 out of 5. Nice color. Wait, what? we get freakishly long reviews and then this one 5 out of 5. Nice color. Okay. Anyway, so I guess I'll put these memories in as a separate video probably. I don't know how am I gonna deal with this. Oh, another one. Chase collection. Judgement? Hello? Jay sat in the corner of the cafe with a book in his lap. His eyes danced over the page for several moments, the words on the page illuminated by the candle that sat perched on the armrest of his chair. Then, after several moments passed, he turned the page. He hadn't actually internalized any of the text on the page, nor had he taken in any of the text on the 50 preceding pages. He was vaguely aware of the fact that the book kept on referring to a man named Henry, who Jay presumed was the protagonist of the book he held in his lap. But beyond that, knew little to nothing. Jay didn't particularly mind this fact. In fact, if he started actually following the story that was told on the pages of his book, he would consider it a great failure. Jay enjoyed sitting down with a book, and he enjoyed the platonic ideal of reading. But when it came to telling stories, he found books to be a poor substitute for a person sitting next to him. He didn't pick up books when he wanted to be told a story. He picked up books when he wanted to be alone, to sit away in a comfy chair and bask in candlelight and sit silently in a meditative state. He turned another page. "Hey," said the familiar voice, interrupting him. "I'm in the middle of a book, Ned," said Jay. "If you hadn't noticed." That was the book's secondary function. It deterred people who might see a man sitting alone and seized upon the opportunity to start a conversation when he was not in the mood for conversation. "Is it a good book?" said Ned. "I was enjoying being alone with it," said Jay. "Yeah, you look really engrossed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've got a favor to ask." Why is it always to ask a favor? said Che, looking past Ned and speaking to no one in particular, even though there was no one but Ned near enough to hear him speak. Was it never? Hey, Che, I just wanted to stop by to offer you a favor. I did that one time, said Ned. You said you were busy, which I figured was your way of politely saying, please don't bother me with this kind of visit, so I stopped. Did you? I don't remember it. I'm sure you do remember it, said Ned. It was from back before you started forgetting things. Sometime around... when did the war start? You're going to have to be a lot more specific, said Che. You know, the war with the soldiers and the guns. Oh yeah, so kinda like any war? Ah, that war, said Che. I did narrow it down a bit, didn't I? I'm not that old, said Che. Wars were fought with guns even when I was a young man. Same for you. Did they? Well, it was the war with the, Ned trailed off. He raised a hand to his face and flicked his helmet, mimicking the unmistakable ping of an M1 Garand. Ah, yes. That is a nice rifle. I love that freaking noise it makes too. It's so freaking satisfying. World War II? Which one was that? The one with the Nazis, said Che. That sounds about right, said Ned. Anyway, I came to ask a favor. I hope that favor was spend a few minutes of your time having an insane conversation, but we already did that, said Che. My, you're snippy today, said Ned. What's got into you? Che held up the book. A good book is what's gotten into me. Sorry, said Ned. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. I'm in need of an interpreter. You speak Cantonese, right? Yes, said Che. Great, said Ned. Can I steal you for a few hours? Not if it's to be an interpreter, said Che. Why not? You speak Cantonese and you seem fluent enough in English, so why would you say no specifically to translating? Being an interpreter is not as simple as being bilingual, Ned. Isn't it? I figured you hear things in one language and say them in another. No, I have the same problem, me being... Wait, how many languages? I think I can call myself trilingual. 4 if I'm really stretching it, but yeah, no, I'm not gonna count it. My German sucks, man. I can sorta understand it, but if I speak German, I'm I'm really bad at it. But yeah, I mean, it is freaking harsh. Finding the right words, it's difficult, man. It's difficult. Seems simple to me. Are you literate? Said Che. A bit. Can you write a work of great literature? Said Che. Oh, that's a good point. Nope, said Ned. That is a nice reference right there. Yeah. Well, there you go, said Che. There's more to translating than being bilingual. Oh, come on, said Ned. I'm in a pinch. I'm not asking you to be a great interpreter, just an adequate one. There's lots of bilingual people around, said Che. I'm sure you know other places to ask. Yeah, but, you know, I know you're not the kind of person to spill secrets, said Ned. Ooh, secrets you say, huh? I'm intrigued. And it's the kind of conversation that I just want to be between me and one other person, you know? Great, said Che. Sounds like you need a professional interpreter. I heard they're great at facilitating those kinds of interactions. Come on, said Ned. What can a professional interpreter do that you can't? Being professional at it, A lot of things, said Che. But for one, a professional interpreter is someone you can count on to allow you to use their mouth to say incredibly stupid things without letting you or your counterparty know just how stupid they find interaction. Funny that, said Ned. I always figured that's the kind of thing you'd be good at. Because I'm so good at holding my tongue. Yes? I've tried before, said Che, kicking up his feet. Being an interpreter pays well if you find yourself working for the right people. It leaves your hands a lot less callous than some of the work I found myself doing instead. But you'll notice my hands have calluses. Turns out holding your tongue is oftentimes harder than digging holes. Come on, you know how to be a diplomat, said Ned. Fuck off, said Jay. There, that was me being undiplomatic. Now would you kindly find another solution to your problem, one that doesn't involve me performing a task that I've told you at least twice now that I'm not going to do? Ned started to say something, but stopped just short of making utterance and backed off. Hey, Maddie, Ned shouted. No, Maddie replied. He tried. I haven't even asked you for anything yet, said Ned. No, but she was listening in and she knows. I know. I thought I would save you the time, said Maddie. Ned sighed. What is it with you people? Maddie turned towards Ned and glowered at him. You people? Ned raised his hands defensively. I didn't mean... Look, I just mean that you two... You're... birds of a feather. In quite a few ways. I don't know if I read that right and interpreted it right, but yeah. Maddie stared at him and had contemplated whether there was any way for him to make a statement grouping Maddie and Jay together without making himself look worse than he already did. He sighed in frustration. You know what your problem is? Yes, said Maddie. I know him quite well. And he's standing right in front of me. Got him! Oh wait, I can continue. That's the end of it? Okay. That was the end of that memory. Also, coming back to the amount of plants in this cafe, we see plants, 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 plant, plant, more plants. I see so many plants. More freaking plants. There's so many plants already. There's not enough of them yet? Wait. It's one of those robots. Ashley's journal. Battle Royale robots power rankings. What? Windless. When I first saw the name of this bot, I thought it was styled to be like a girl who could run control storms and run like a ninja. A real lass of the wind. Or maybe a girl of the elements. Someone with the ability to become the wind itself. If I were a windlass, I could vanish in an instant. Whenever Maddie appeared, she would look around and say, "Where's Ashley?" And I would be right there. But she wouldn't notice it, because I would be one with the wind. Then when she left, I would fade back into the room like a ninja. This would only work outside in the rooms that are really breezy, so I would probably set up fans in the workshop to make it really drafty. Then I looked it up online and learned that windlass is actually a fancy name for a wind used to pull anchors up, which at first made me think this bot was lame. It works by hooking its arm under enemy bots and pulling it up to flip them over. It never even tries to smash the other bot to bits or melt it with fire. But then I watched it in action and realized that flipping your enemy on their back to incapacitate them is the ultimate ninja move. Windlass moves like a master, spending an entire match trying to bait its opponent into exposing its weakness. And then, like a ninja master that knows how to jab at exactly the right pressure point on the back of the neck to make her enemy's head explode, Windlass grabs the enemy bot by the one part of it that happens to be sticking out at the wrong time and flips it onto its back. Note, most bots only have wheels or legs on the bottom, not on the top, so when you flip them over, they are totally helpless and the match is over. To avoid this happening, make sure to put wheels on the top as well. When I make a bot like Windlass, I'm going to call it badass because that's what it is. I'm so confused about these little memories, bits and pieces. Well, anything else though? Is there any other more memories that... Oh! What do we have here? The fisherman. Also, wait. That wasn't there before. When I was walking in the alley, I can't go outside. The alleyway is it still there? It's still there, sorta, but this whole vibe changed. It's kinda cool though. Really like it. Anyway, next memory. Maddie was about to leave the counter when an old-looking man pushed the door open. He was hunched over and he walked with a bit of a limp, and even at this distance she could see the leathery texture of his skin, a testament to many years well lived. Maddie had been about to leave the counter to Che, but there was something in the way the man walked that made her want to stay long enough to see if he had any special requests. She wasn't sure if she would like the man, and in fact she was fairly sure that there was a good chance that she wouldn't have much to say to the man, or much that she... Wait, what? Something's off here, mate. How do I need to read this? There was a good chance that she wouldn't have much to say to the man, or much that she would be interested in hearing from him. It was obvious that the man had paid his dues, and she felt that she owed him at least a few moments of her time. Even if he hadn't done anything in life worthy of admiration, he at least had done enough to earn her respect. It was only when the man sat down that Maddie saw that his skin was cracked, but not wrinkled. His body had been aged, but it had been aged by the elements and the sun more than it had been aged by the passage of time. The slight limp in his step could have easily been the limp of a young man who had spent one day too many lifting loads that were 1 kilo too heavy for him. He took the seat directly in front of her. "You, serve food here?" Apparently the man was more interested in finding out what was on offer than figuring out where he was. Maddie kept herself from visibly smirking. There was something she liked about guests like that. People whose only question was what was on tap. Maddie glanced at Che. He gave a nod of assent. Yes, Che was willing to play the role of grill master today. "We do serve food," she said. The man squinted up at the menu above him. "My eyes don't work too well in this light," he said. "Got a paper menu?" Maddie reached under the counter and pulled out a menu that looked just as aged as the man sitting in front of her. Its scars were from coffee stains, not cuts. But as she watched the man hold the menu, there was something about the combination of the two of them that felt right to her. The man stared at the menu for a good deal longer than it must have taken him to read everything on it. He finally spoke after a long considered pause. "Do you suppose it would be a problem if I were to order something if I didn't intend to actually eat it?" "That's not the kind of thing that would offend me," said Maddie. Actually, it was exactly the kind of thing that would offend her. Yet there was something in the way that the man asked that made her feel like whatever reason he might have had for not eating food he was served, it would be a good one. And she was half interested to find out what the man's reaction would be. "I'll have the grilled halibut," he said. Halibut," said Maddie. She understood. Many people enjoyed the concept of grilled fish more than they liked it in practice, and if this man knew himself well enough to be front and honest about that, she could respect that. "I can't promise that it's never been frozen. I hope that's not a problem," she said. Sure that it wouldn't be. "Sounds like my kind of fish," said the man. "The best halibut swim in cold water. Ain't a problem if that water happens to be in solid form after halibut passes." She nodded to Che, who nodded back and headed back to the freezer. The man placed both of his hands on the counter and folded them. There was something serene in the way that the man sat there, with no inclination to glance around and inspect the café he was in, no nervous movement in his legs, no strained expression on his face to express that he was waiting for something to happen. He looked so calm that Maddie almost didn't want to disturb him. But she chafed at the idea that only squeaky wheels were deserving of grease. Some wheels were just too polite to ask. "Do you want a drink while you're waiting on that?" "I don't need a drink," said the man. "All right," said Maddie, picking up a whiskey bottle and placing it in his field of view. A reminder of what he was free to ask for. The man squinted. "Is that Jack Daniels?" "Not sponsored, by the way, but I'm gonna leave it in." "Indeed it is," said Maddie. The man's shoulders rose a bit in what looked like barely a chuckle. "Got a fondness for that particular drink?" "It's just that we share the same name," said the man. "I'm Jack Daniel. No relation to the distiller. I had several friends who took it upon themselves to check. As you might imagine, I've seen a lot of those bottles over the years. Yep, many birthday presents. That was fun the first time, but got really old very quickly. It's probably something that people keep bringing up, and it probably is just a bore if they keep bringing it up at some point. It's the kind of gift that people enjoy giving you when you have a name like that. Is it a gift that you enjoyed receiving? It's always a pleasure to receive a gift, said Jack. It's nice to know that you have friends who care about you and think about you. Is it a gift that you enjoyed consuming? I had a shelf in my flat where I collected them, waiting for other people to come so I'd have an excuse to open them. Ah, said Maddie, picking up the bottle and placing it below the counter. Sorry if I brought up a bad memory. He laughed. Where's the bad memory? They're good to receive from friends and good to share with friends. It's a reminder of the people who I was close to and the things I did with them. No need to apologize for that. Maddie smiled. She was beginning to find she liked Jack, and it seemed like Jack was the kind of person who liked her, if for no other reason than that he liked people, and Maddie was people. She chuckled with him, and she enjoyed the chuckle so much that she almost missed Jack's momentary sideways glance, an unguarded moment when his mind seemed to be on something other than what he was talking about. It was only an instant, but it was a flicker of pain that she'd learned to recognize over the years. There was something in him that was hurting, even as he remembered his friends. A sense of loss? A regret about something left unsaid? Maddie wasn't sure. Whatever it was none of her business. But she wanted it to be her business. Well, anything you want, just ask, said Maddie. Cup of water, warm glass of milk. Warm glass of milk? How old do you think I am? Maddie shrugged. 5 or 6? Just the right age to drink a tall glass of milk before being shooed off to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm barely older, said Jack. But if I do want a glass of milk, I guess I know who to ask. Oh, wait, it's the end. These are really nice small excerpts of memory. Oh, another one. Excerpts of memories. And I see multiple of them mentioning like part, well, I assume they're called part 1 or something, because the numbers are on them. But yeah, these are really sort of wholesome. Wait, Lamington recipe. This is an actual recipe? No way. No freaking way. Authentic Australian Lamingtons. Ingredients: 200 grams of. Okay, hold on tight, guys. Get your chef's hat on. Get to cooking. I'm not cooking this, but let me know if this is an actual ingredient. Recipe that actually works. So 200 grams of butter, 1 cup of what? Oh, caster sugar, right? 5 milliliters of vanilla extract, 3 milliliters eggs, 500 grams self-raising flour sifted, a half a cup milk, 2 cups shredded coconut, and then for the icing we need 4 teaspoons of sugar mixed and dissolved in water, 1/4 of a cup cacao powder, 100 grams of butter, a half a cup water, and you will also need a convection oven, Lamington pan 3 centimeters deep, 20 by 30 cm. This is way too precise. Baking paper, an electric mixer, a Lamington? I'm not really into the cooking business, but what the heck is a Lamington? Possible substitutions, okay. Chicken eggs can be used in place of Malleefowl eggs. Alright, Malleefowl eggs. What the heck are Malleefowls again? So, chicken eggs, huh? If electricity is not available, whale oil mixes can be used instead. What the heck is the recipe about? It is strongly hypothesized that a homunculus made with Lamington DNA could be used in lieu of an actual Lamington, but no confirmed tests have been confirmed. Due to the lack of success in producing actual homunculi, especially homunculi capable of baking. Okay, I guess you have to commit some acts of atrocities. Probably. Yeah. Human rights, violations, etc. Basic things, you know. So, okay, the instructions, here we go. 1 greased Lamington pan lined with baking paper. Use electric mixer, beat butter, vanilla and sugar until airy. Add eggs to mixture. Number 2. Have your Lamington stir flour into mixture and add milk. Have Lamington powder into pan and smooth. At this point you may dismiss your Lamington. It's no longer needed. Wait, what? Then bake for 30 minutes. Make icing. Boil water and combine ingredients. Beat until smooth. Just beat it. Apply icing coating 1 millimeter thick and sprinkler coconut. Repeat until all icing and coconut have been used. No, wait. So that we've got layers upon layers of coconut and icing on top of each other. Wow. There is a thing as too much icing though. Note that it is not necessary to have a Lamington to perform this step. Okay. Tips for procuring a Lamington. 1. Okay, any recently departed Lamington who comes into contact with a 40-60 mixture of vanilla and coconut will begin to glow red. What the fuck is a Lamington? I'm so confused! Note that the 30-70 vanilla coconut mixture will cause them to glow green. This 30-70% mixture can be used in the case of potential Lamingtons who have particularly flushed cheeks or otherwise difficult to identify by a red glow. But this is generally discouraged as the effects can persist for several hours and can often be unsettling to guests. Only around 20% of people who claim to be Lamingtons have actual Lamington ancestry, hence the need to test potential candidates. Be particularly skeptical of anyone who claims to be directly descended from either a Lord or a Lady Lamington. Lamington pretenders uniformly claim to be descended from a former Lord. What the frick is this all about? There's so much lore attached to this. So, are Lamingtons like sort of... are they people? Or is it some kind of creature who has like, I don't know, some British sort of ancestry? I've got no clue. What is this all about? So blah 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 blah, leading to the overwhelming of these claimants being false positives. Most Lamingtons were agricultural workers, so anyone claiming to be descended from a farmer of Lamington is more likely to be credible, but should still be tested to verify authenticity. Do not bother testing anyone claiming to be descended from the 3rd Baron of Lamington, as Victor Alexander Brisbane, William Cochrane Bailey died childless. Okay, I am right to say that these are literal human beings that you're crushing up into your recipe now, right? I mean, for a game about necromancy and coffee, this seems accurate. So, wait, a gluten-free option? Really? Having a Lamington stir self-raised flour into the mixture is critical to the synthesis process and will not work with a non-gluten alternative. TFV no GF option. TF no gluten-free option. TF I don't know. Jesus, I'm so, okay. That was the recipes are so weird. Anything? Oh, can I talk to her? Oh, wait. Let's not continue just yet. Ooh, what? How? What? This it? Something's happening here. Oh, is this it? Thinking about alchemy the wrong way. Let's have a look. Highlighted passages from Thinking About Alchemy the Wrong Way by Sophie Cordova. This is a random book now? Alchemy. Oh my god, I've read some really cool alchemy books in my days when I was way younger, like 12 years younger. It was so freaking cool. I really love fantasy books, man. I can't read them anymore because they're way too thick and I've got to make choices in my life about what I'm gonna spend my time with. And books, they take ages to read, so they were the first thing I dropped. So the next best thing to do for me is to read visual novels. Most study of alchemy throughout history can be categorized as either practical alchemy, that is alchemy which aims to understand the world only as well as is needed to fulfill certain utilitarian ends. Wow. Sorry. And philosophical alchemy, that is alchemy which aims to come to a more complete understanding of the world as it is, without prejudice for which portions of alchemical understanding can be wielded to utilitarian ends. Oh my god, this is gonna get difficult, isn't it? Bear with me, guys, please. In the modern alchemy movement, there has been a tendency within literature to place a greater emphasis on philosophical alchemy, based on the premise that coming to a more complete and correct understanding of the universe is the best way for us to discover new practical methods for the physical use of alchemy. Much of this is based on the modern scientific movement and the post-Enlightenment era. Much like our understanding of theoretical physics gives us more accurate models of physical reality, which have real applications in engineering. Having a better understanding of alchemy on philosophical levels informs our practice of alchemy. However, it may be that this focus on alchemy, which places an emphasis on being correct rather than useful, has thrown out the baby with the bathwater. Admittedly, my position here is highly biased. The fact that practical studies of alchemy have largely been chased underground is the reason that the tome you're reading is self-published, rather than distributed through more official channels. Oh, so reading a tome. A tome about necromancy? Well, no, alchemy. But could alchemy also involve necromancy? I will continue reading. For example, underappreciated in the development of modern alchemical practices is the use of a 5-element model. Early pre-Aristotelian alchemical models were based on an understanding of 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Later, Aristotelian alchemical models separated elements into 4 categories of earth, water, air, and fire. While this model may be more accurate and reflect an evolution of our understanding of alchemy, it seems to sacrifice the more practical separation of elements in a way that better allows us to understand less tangible things. While wood is not an element strictly speaking, it helps for us to think of it as such. After all, juxtaposing wood against elements such as metal and fire makes it apparent that wood possesses certain soul-like qualities that other elements lack, which might prompt us to question what it is about wood that seems to make it behave like a super-element with practical uses beyond the conventional. There is a great irony in the fact that while these kind of questions eventually led us to discard the 5-element model, the new model no longer allows for the existence in this sort of question to exist in academic literature. Whoa, I've got to be honest, this is getting really hard, man. I need to put some really high concentration in here to understand what I'm reading, actually. This book serves as my guide to ask the wrong questions to arrive at the wrong answers that nonetheless seem to work. It is a book for troublemakers and rule breakers. Indeed, the fact that you hold this book in your hands right now is probably evidence that you have broken several rules to acquire it. That, or you are a rule enforcer tasked with destroying my work, who for some reason has decided to take the time to read it. Perhaps you're reading my work in search of identifying information which might lead you to my location, or you're reading to gain a better understanding of someone whom you consider to be an enemy. Perhaps after reading my work, you realize that my ideas are not so dangerous as you've been to believe. Or perhaps you'll realize that they're exactly as dangerous as you've been told. And we're at the end. I guess we'll find out more later. Thinking about alchemy the wrong way. Oh yeah, it was definitely about that one. Okay, so I haven't gone upstairs yet. Let's go upstairs. Oh, wait, what? Oh man, I can't go upstairs yet. I guess we'll unlock that later on then. Well, since I've sort of explored everything now here, I think I'll continue on then. I think I'll continue in part 2 because, as you know, this video was only an extra. But as a final reminder, I'll publicly upload the main story episodes and keep the extra memories as unlisted videos, only accessible through the main videos. So yeah, I'll see you in part 2. Ciao!